Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to WOFcrypto's YouTube channel. I first want to thank you guys for tuning into my channel. I want to apologize for not posting any recent content on my channel. A couple of reasons there. One, I got banned actually from YouTube for a live feed I did in which I had 5 seconds of a jazz music, and they flagged me for copyright infringement because of that, which is, I think, pretty ridiculous. And it was in the background, by the way. It wasn't intentional. The second reason is I've been just so busy over the first half of it, this first portion of the year, just getting into and really diving into the technology associated with EOS and other platforms. And as opposed to targeting price discussions, I've really just focused on that. So I think that's where the value is going to be, and developing content for those platforms. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you find this content useful, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. So without further ado, guys, topic of today's video is Legacy Applications Reimagined on EOS. What do we mean by that, guys? Well, obviously today we live in a world that is filled with old legacy systems. And what do we mean by that? Well, I can give you some examples. One of the examples would be that we have a lot of governmental and private organizations that have information that is siloed. It is not shared. There's no real incentives to share that information, and it's actually hoarded. It's not incentivized to actually empower others to help grow and build systems. It's quite the opposite. Furthermore, the ownership structure of a lot of these organizations is put in such a way that folks who contribute in such a way, irrespective of the value of their contributions, in many ways the compensation may not reflect that, and they may not even have ownership rights to a lot of the entities they actually grow tremendously, and that's a problem. So if you look at legacy systems such as Uber, there's no real incentive for a driver beyond getting the fare that they earn from providing the service. They have no ability to actually own a portion of that network. They have no voice, really. So, the topic of today's video is on ride-sharing applications. It's on legacy applications, but you can, replace the example I'm going to give you today and fill in the industry you work in or the industry you're aware of, and, help build a reinvented system on a platform like EOS. So, love to hear you guys' thoughts on this presentation, and yeah, thank you so much for participating and tuning in to my channel. So I want to start with EOS ecosystem of Dapps, and this kind of goes into what I just discussed a minute ago, in which irrespective of whatever industry you are familiar with or you interact with, whether it's governmental, whether it's transportation, real estate, communications, medical services, travel and logistics, business, personal identity, which is a big one in my book, any of these, and the ones I didn't mention that are listed here, are all roles for platforms really to reimagine and create their own ecosystems. And I think, and I expect, a platform like EOS will be able to drive this home and really demonstrate it, because we haven't seen this yet on a platform like Ethereum, mainly because of some scaling issues, and also, frankly, because of the way in which it is structured, in a sense that I think, from a transactional standpoint, having to pay for each transaction, it may present a burden to non-technical users. And so part of the goal of EOS is reinventing these applications in a way that incentivizes all users of the network to participate, but making it so that the barrier to entry is a lot less than what we have in even Ethereum. We need to make it such that folks who aren't crypto nerds have the ability to basically participate in these technologies. And I think that's exactly what's coming down the pipe here with EOS, which is exciting. So creating value through DAPP synergies on EOS. What do we mean by this? Well, when people think about DApps on, even Ethereum, which is, some people argue is blockchain 2.0, It's really the next evolution after Bitcoin. Folks don't think of how potentially apps themselves, multiple apps, can interact with one another to create even more savings, more opportunities for the users on that platform. With EOS having potentially reputable identity tools which can be recognized across the network, you have the ability to use many of those services across the network to reduce your costs further, to become an entrepreneur in providing services to other users. So an example here would be at the center, ride-sharing applications. So you could be a driver or a rider, right, who's interested maybe in car rentals or transportation solutions, and you'd have the ability to use, the identity and reputation tools within the network. You'd have the ability to use the financial services applications potentially for payments and financing of infrastructure that would be needed maybe for a business. You have the ability to tap into crowdsourced reviews for services, whether that's products, whether that's a driver who provides the service. It really incentivizes the people to do what's best and help improve the network as time goes by, as opposed to stagnation and really small incentives for people to do the right things. I think that's what makes EOS and crypto platforms in general very exciting over what we have today. I think that's why a lot of the younger population in particular is very moved by these things, because our current system is so stale and stagnant. You have the ability to communicate through secure messaging and peer-to-peer activities on the social network type application on EOS. That's important because we know that companies like Facebook and others are really tapeworms when it comes to mining personal data without basically all the users maybe wanting that information to be mined. And so with EOS, you have the ability to secure your data as it should be. And obviously you have smart insurance applications such as car insurance, health insurance, even aspects for your car to help mitigate against breakdown there. So putting this all together, it's really an interesting ecosystem of DAPP synergies, and it's on EOS. So this kind of gives you a 50,000 foot view of the interactions that we expect to see, or I expect to see, I should say. And I want to mention all this content was prepared by me. Hopefully you guys like it. If you find it useful, you want to use it, have at it, let me know. I'd love to share it with you guys, but just know that this is independent and not affiliated with Block One, who is designing this software. This is community-led. This content is community-led, so it's not investment advice. This is my own opinions only, guys, okay? So do your own research. So case example, car riding app built on EOS. And really the question we ask ourselves as the community is how to build a car sharing application that can change the world. And that sounds really laughable. I know a lot of people think it's funny or stupid, but really, if you think about it, the systems we have today, such as Uber, you got to ask yourself one thing. Why does a driver drive Uber? And today, the only reason is, again, to collect the fare. Tomorrow, with the ride-sharing app built on EOS, they will have the ability to actually own a portion of that network, actually be incentivized to not only drive, a rider from point A to point B, but do it in a way in which their role is a business owner. They are a part of it. They are actual entrepreneur in a sense, right? They have their own service and they have their own brand. They have their own ridership. They have their own reviews. It's a powerful thing, guys. Developers who are part of this network have incentives to develop the best application built because they will be known and reputable throughout the community and will get other opportunities to build other applications and own a good portion of maybe the ride-sharing application themselves. So they have the ability to maybe gain access to rides. The community themselves have the incentive to do what's right. They have the ability to tell their friends and family about this exciting application and how it's changing the world in a sense that it gives even the riders themselves access to own a portion of the network, and so on and so forth. You can see that there's a lot of synergies here in a structure that is radically different than what we have today. And I think that's why I spent time I spent, several weeks, and I'm going to spend the next year, 2 years, 3 years to understand EOS, to relearn C++ code, recommit myself as an engineer to help others do it. And I'm fully committed to this. So I hope you guys are excited. You could see I'm pretty amped, and I'm usually amped anyway on these videos, but I am really stoked about EOS, and I just am awe about the exciting technologies that await us come June. So going back to the legacy car application and really understanding the fee snapshot of what we have today, you could see that in some cases, the platform fee is somewhere around 25% to 50%, which is quite a bit as a percentage of the total fair cost. Driver salary, you're looking at anywhere from 15 to 35%. Obviously, you have your fuel and your insurance and maintenance cost. What if you had the ability to have an application as a driver or as a writer that would bring the platform fees down to close to zero? I mean, yes, you have to pay for, developer proposals and improvement proposals on the network, but that's actually going to go back into the network, and it's going to actually make the network even grow more on the new reinvented system. This system, the platform fees don't necessarily go into the network. Okay, it could go to investors on the legacy systems, and it's just not very efficient. Again, there's no ownership that is given to the driver. So the driver is paid in fiat currency, but they're not paid ownership of the network. So let's look at how this could be reinvented and built on EOS. Well, it starts with innovation, obviously. It starts with a hunger and a drive. And we need incentives for developers and others to come in and basically develop this from the ground up. It could be that we have incentives for developers to provide the system upgrades in the form of network tokens, which represents basically ownership in the network. Now, obviously, with community ownership and partnership, there's a sense of pride and a sense of, you give incentives to people, and they're going to actually grow this thing like crazy, which we don't have today. But this could be made up of writers, drivers, and developers. And what it comes down to is a whole community who owns this network. And this could be localized in different areas. You could have it structured in multiple different ways and really competing types of technologies. So I am just, again, you could tell, excited. What does this translate to? Well, you have a hungry team of developers. You have an empowered community. You have empowered drivers. You have lower fares because now you're not paying the onerous fees to the tapeworm central entities that make up our world today. And you get the network effect, which is you have incentives for everyone to market the network to everybody. And those people tell other people, and you get this word of mouth effect. You get a constant improvement of services too within this system. So it's really an interesting model that we haven't seen anything like it today, and that's why I think it can and will change the world. And it's really a low-hanging fruit type example that EOS could build to do it. So ride sharing reimagined on EOS. What is the value proposition? Well, we have reduced network rider fees. We have 100% payment in network ownership for drivers. We could have higher driver payments, or slightly higher and competitive to Uber and Lyft, for example. All while, again, giving them the ability to own a portion of the network, which I think is very important because Uber and Lyft do not have that. And they can't even get the ability to do that, in fact. And then you can have additional value through DAPP synergies on the US, such as the insurance, payments, DAPP, and the reputational tools we talked about before. The one I want to point you guys to here is the network fees. Goal of bringing those down to almost zero from where they are today. That would be huge. Driver payments could even go up, and you'd still save money both for the rider and higher, costs, again, higher fees for the driver. Payment and system ownership, again, that could be 100%. And then you have some slight synergies in insurance, maintenance, and finance and fuel, mainly on finance here and insurance here. So what are we finishing up with today? It's really about you guys getting involved in EOS, other platforms, okay? I'm obviously favoring EOS, but you guys need to get involved in these technologies, even if you're not a programmer. there's different roles here I've identified. Whether you're a business professional, you're a consumer or a driver, start reaching out and start finding out how you can maybe get involved in these platforms, because it's going to be huge. So that's really my presentation today, guys. I've laid out the roles here. C++ is probably a good language to learn if you're a developer. That's what I'm doing. I'm, relearning. I'm an engineer, but obviously I don't program every day. But I think that this technology is groundbreaking enough to incentivize me to relearn and dust off the books, buy some new ones, and just crack into it. If you're a consumer, there's roles for you as community members, maybe to even share this knowledge with others. As business professionals, whether you're in marketing, communications, you're a business developer, you're a legal contract specialist, you're an analyst, you're an accountant, whatever it is you do, get involved. And, if you're someone who studies business models, feel free to look at that as well. A couple different resources to finish up with. EOStalk.io is a pretty good resource. Shout out to my boy Fuzzy, President Fuzzy there. EOS Talk on Telegram is listed there, as well as the DAPP creators. You can go there, guys. I'm there every Friday, usually from like 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time all the way to like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. So if you have any questions, if you need support, if you need any help with your projects, you can find a whole passionate community of people there, such as myself, and more than happy to help you guys out, okay? So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. This is Wealth of the Future signing off, and until next time, talk to you guys later. Have yourselves a great weekend. Peace.